It was the wedding of the century, wasn't it? But here's the kicker. It almost didn't happen. Picture this. A prince on the brink of bankruptcy, a movie star with a serious case of cold feet, and a dowry so colossal it could fund a Hollywood blockbuster. This, my friends, is the wild tale of how a 10-minute photo shoot in the south of France somehow blossomed into the most glamorous royal union ever staged. You won't believe the twists and turns. Welcome back, royal watchers and vintage glam lovers. Today, we're not just dipping our toes, we're diving headfirst into the confetti, the exquisite lace, and yes, the high-stakes political chessboard that lay beneath the 1956 nuptials. These were the vows that had the entire world pressing its nose to newsstands, clamoring for every detail. So, go on, grab your best faux tiara. We're about to rewind to that pivotal moment when Hollywood's golden girl gracefully swapped the blinding red carpet spotlights for a shimmering crown of diamonds, ready for a real-life fairy tale with a healthy dose of intrigue. Let's set the scene. Monaco, 1955. Imagine a principality, a mere postage stamp of a country, tucked away on the French Riviera. It's absolutely stunning. Yes, but economically speaking, it was running on fumes, a tiny gem the size of New York's Central Park. Yet its treasury was dangerously low. And at its helm, a dashing but desperately lonely bachelor prince, Rainier III, who genuinely needed a miracle. Preferably, a miracle that looked fantastic in Dior. Enter Grace Kelly. She was an Oscar-winning actress, a Philadelphia ice cream heiress, and arguably the most self-possessed, elegant woman lighting up the silver screen at the time. Grace wasn't exactly scouring want ads for a prince. She was busy looking for her next brilliant script. Yet, here's where fate, or perhaps a clever magazine editor, stepped in. Both of their futures, so vastly different, hinged on a single roll of the dice. A seemingly chance meeting, orchestrated by Paris Match magazine at the buzzing Cannes Film Festival. Rainier, in a stroke of genius or sheer desperation, saw a glamorous, last-ditch lifeline for his miniature monarchy. And Grace, well, she got something even the most powerful studio bosses couldn't fabricate, an honest-to-goodness, captivating fairy tale plotline. It was a perfect, if unexpected, synergy. It was April 1955 on the sun-drenched pier of the Carlton Hotel. Grace, ever polite but perhaps a little bored with the endless publicity stills, was posing when Rainier's intriguing invitation arrived. Would Mademoiselle care to tour my palace? She had a mere 90 minutes free before a cocktail reception. 90 minutes. Can you believe it? Those 90 minutes, a fleeting moment in time, would utterly rewrite both their destinies. Eyewitnesses later whispered that the prince was visibly nervous, chain-smoking filtered cigarettes while his beloved pet boxer, Eileen, quite unceremoniously drooled on the polished palace marble. Grace, by contrast, remained cool as the champagne on ice, famously asking about the palace's heating bills, a wonderfully practical question for a princess-to-be. By the time she left, the press had their headline, "Movie Queen Meets Monarch," but neither of them could have possibly guessed that a transatlantic flurry of letters, over 150 pages, filled with Rainier's neat naval script, and Grace's elegant, looping cursive would keep their budding chemistry alive and burning across 4,000 miles of ocean. Those letters weren't just correspondence, they were the very foundation of a romance that defied distance and expectation, building a bond that went far deeper than mere royal obligation. Now, royal protocol, as you might imagine, demands far more than just affection. It often demands cold, hard cash. Thanks to the rather obscure 1918 Franco-Monegasque Treaty, any heir to the Monegasque throne marrying a foreign commoner had to prove significant financial self-sufficiency. Translation: Grace's father, John B. Kelly Sr., a self-made millionaire, had to cough up a dowry reported at $2 million. In today's money, that's a staggering $22 million. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, MGM, ever the shrewd operator, smelled global publicity gold. They quietly offered to foot the entire bill if their cameras could capture every single moment of the ceremonies. It was a win-win for the studio, ensuring unprecedented exposure. The Kelly clan, staunch Philadelphia Catholics, weren't just planning a wedding. They were hiring canon lawyers to meticulously negotiate papal dispensations and exhaustive prenuptial clauses. So, was it a love story? Absolutely, deeply, undeniably. But was it also a strategic merger? Equally and unequivocally true. Rainier's tiny realm suddenly found itself solvent. Hollywood landed the greatest location shoot in cinematic history. And Grace, ever the professional, ever composed, signed on the dotted line, ready for her most demanding role yet. She also received 2 engagement rings, the stunning 10.4 8-carat emerald-cut diamond from Cartier, and a thoughtful Rubion diamond eternity band, a tribute to Monaco's vibrant flag colors, which Rainier kept close as a backup. The task of dressing a princess fell to Helen Rose, MGM's star designer, who found herself shuttling discreetly between Los Angeles fittings and clandestine palace consultations. The secrecy was paramount, the stakes incredibly high. She meticulously crafted 2 distinct looks. First, for the civil rite, a beautifully demure blush-colored lace cocktail dress, perfectly elegant for the more understated legal proceedings. But the showstopper, the gown that would etch itself into history, was the now legendary ivory silk creation for the religious ceremony. It boasted an exquisite overlay of 125-year-old Brussels lace, a true antique marvel, and thousands upon thousands of micropearls, each one hand-stitched. 30 dedicated seamstresses toiled for 6 weeks, often by candlelight, to ensure its timely, perfect completion. For the pre-wedding gala, Grace floated into the Monte Carlo Opera House in a breathtaking white Lanvin confection. Qua da! The Grimaldi tiara perched elegantly, twinkling like a captured galaxy. But the most talked-about accessory, a magnificent Van Cleef and Arpels Rubion diamond eternity band, a vibrant echo of Monaco's national flag. This was Rainier's clever engagement backup ring, carried carefully in his breast pocket just in case that colossal 10-carat emerald-cut whopper somehow slipped off during the ceremony. Spoiler alert, it did, at one point. But the ruby version, thankfully, stayed put, securing its own place in royal lore. Napoleonic law, as it turns out, couldn't care less about Hollywood buzz or fairy tale romance. At precisely 11 a.m. sharp, Rainier, resplendent in his white military regalia, and Grace, radiant in her blush-tinted lace, entered the palace throne room. It had been temporarily transformed into a rather formal registrar's office. The entire affair, legally binding and publicly televised, clocked in at a brisk 16 minutes. Can you believe the efficiency? Outside, the Monegasques roared with joyful approval when the couple appeared on the balcony, waving to their delighted subjects. Inside, however, a more intimate drama unfolded. Grace's hands trembled ever so slightly as she signed Grace Patricia Kelly one last poignant time. She exited that room not as a Hollywood star, but legally, officially, as Her Serene Highness Princess Grace of Monaco. No retakes, no second cuts. The ever-present MGM cameras captured every single blink, every subtle emotion. The very next morning, the Cathedral de Monaco was utterly transformed. White lilacs and fragrant lilies of the valley garlanded the nave, filling the ancient stone edifice with a heavenly scent. 800 guests, a glittering assembly of royalty, Hollywood legends, and dignitaries, packed the pews. There was Ava Gardner in dramatic black silk, perhaps mourning her latest divorce, and Cary Grant, grinning like a proud older brother. Even the Duchess of Windsor was there, no doubt mentally comparing the floral budgets to her own legendary 1937 wedding. Conductor René Lebowitz led the choir boys through a specially composed mass, their voices soaring. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for, Grace's magnificent 6-foot train glided majestically down the aisle. Her gown, a vision of lace and pearls. Cameras zoomed in so tightly that 30 million viewers worldwide could practically count every single pearl. The sermon, delivered thoughtfully in both French and English, urged them to wear greatness lightly. Rainier's voice, usually so steady, noticeably cracked as he recited his vows, a raw display of emotion. Grace's, however, remained velvet smooth, unwavering. Outside, Navy cannons fired a resounding 42 times in salute. Inside, the sweet, heady scent of orange blossom clung to the medieval stone long after the organ's final triumphant chord faded. Media frenzy doesn't even begin to cover it. This wasn't just news, was a global phenomenon, a collective sigh of romantic wonder. Paris Sawyer printed a massive 48-page souvenir edition completely dedicated to the event. American newsreels, in an astonishing move, actually paused their war coverage to air the iconic kiss. In Tokyo, schoolgirls painstakingly copied Grace's elegant, swept-back hairstyle. And even in Moscow, Pravda, the official Soviet newspaper, sniffed that it was a bourgeois circus, then, ironically, ran for pages of coverage anyway. Airlines quickly added Monaco stopovers to their routes. Hotel bookings in the Principality jumped an incredible 400% overnight. For a tiny country that had historically survived on the fickle fortunes of casino chips and the allure of winter sun, this wedding was more than just a ceremony. It was a jackpot, a publicity coup bigger and more impactful than any roulette spin could ever hope to be. The world simply couldn't get enough of this real-life fairy tale. Back at the palace, the celebrations continued with unrestrained joy and a touch of delightful chaos. A colossal 6-tier cake, a magnificent 198 pounds of rum-soaked genoise, held a charming secret to live doves. When released, they promptly flew, not gracefully into the sky, but straight into the chandeliers, showering surprised guests with almond icing. It was a moment of pure, unscripted hilarity. Georgia Gibbs crooned changing partners, setting a romantic mood while champagne fountains recycled 600 bottles of moat, flown in specially overnight, keeping the bubbly flowing. Gifts, lavish and numerous, filled no fewer than 10 rooms. Among them, a custom Creed perfume named Florissimo, created specifically for Grace, and a luxurious silver fox stroller from the shipping magnate Aristotle Onassis, and from the prince himself, a breathtaking diamond Riviera necklace so fluid and exquisite it could almost double as a lariat. Their grand exit. A sleek, cream and black Rolls-Royce convertible, a wedding gift from the grateful Monegascus who had lined the streets since dawn. Confetti, made from shredded 1,000-franc notes, fluttered after them, a playful, yet potent symbol that Monaco intended to flaunt its newfound solvency to the world. The honeymoon, spent cruising the Mediterranean on Rainier's yacht. Dio Juvante was idyllic, but the tabloids were already buzzing, speculating relentlessly about heirs. This immense pressure would shadow them until the birth of Prince Albert 2 years later. Grace, of course, never acted again, but she gracefully reinvented Monaco as a vibrant cultural capital. She launched the iconic Rose Ball and the prestigious Red Cross Gala, events that still anchor the high society calendars today. Rainier's once shaky throne, fortified by this glamorous union, now attracted wealthy investors, yachting elites, and finally, the tourism dollars his father had, perhaps unwisely, gambled away. Their marriage, a remarkable partnership, endured for 26 years, ending tragically with Grace's fatal car crash in 1982. Yet, the fairy tale, meticulously polished by Hollywood, unequivocally sealed by monarchy, refuses to fade. It remains stubbornly and beautifully in our collective imagination. Enjoying this whirlwind through lace, diamonds, and diplomatic wizardry. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more vintage glam, and tell us in the comments below which detail would you steal for your own dream wedding. The thousands of pearls, the charming doves, or perhaps a prince with a palace view. Just take a look around Monaco today. The gleaming superyachts, the thrilling Grand Prix, the exclusive couture boutiques, all of it, in a very real sense, stems from that single, unforgettable weekend in April 1956. Fashion houses worldwide still regularly reference Helen Rose's intricate lace applique, and bridal designers faithfully copy the elegant high neckline and long sleeves of Grace's gown every single spring. Beyond fashion, Grace's pioneering model of charity, using her immense fame to spotlight crucial humanitarian causes, echoes. powerfully in the patronages of figures like Meghan Markle and the impactful UN work of Angelina Jolie. Even Disney, in its timeless narratives, borrowed heavily from this real-life story. Hollywood commoner meets prince. Kingdom is saved. Roll credits. In so many ways, the Kelly-Grimaldi merger didn't just make headlines. It quite literally wrote the modern template for celebrity philanthropy, royal rebranding, and the enduring power of a meticulously crafted public image. It was a masterclass in making history. So yes, it was undeniably the wedding of the century, a spectacle unlike any other. But dig a little deeper, and you'll see it was also, perhaps, the greatest public relations coup ever pulled off, all wrapped up in pearls and satin. A prince secured his shaky throne. A star gracefully wrote her own final, most impactful act, and a tiny speck on the sun-drenched Riviera became, forevermore, shorthand for timeless glamour. If you're hunting for proof that real life can outsparkle even the most vivid fiction, just cue up those grainy kinescopes. There's Grace, smiling beneath a diamond tiara. Rainier lifting her hand to a roaring, adoring crowd, and somewhere amid the showering confetti, the unmistakable, lingering scent of orange blossom drifting across a sunlit square. That, my friends, is the moment Hollywood officially crowned its first and still most dazzling princess.